The rain pours down hard as my plane touches down on the tarmac, unexpected and unwelcome. I was supposed to be in Chicago tonight, sealing a deal that would push my career to the next level, but nature had other plans. A storm grounded my flight, and now I'm back in the city, hours before anyone expected me. As I drive home, I can't help but feel a bit of excitement. It's not often that I get to surprise my wife, Emily. She insisted on having a girls' night while I was gone. A smile crosses my lips as I think about how she'll react when I walk through the door. Emily is everything to me. We've been married for 7 years, and our life together has been picture perfect, at least on the surface. I'm an IT consultant, working long hours, but I've always made time for her. She's beautiful, smart, and our love life has always been vibrant, though recently I've noticed some distance. She's been more secretive, brushing off my questions with a laugh and a kiss. But I trust her. I have to. As I pull into the driveway, the house is quiet, but the lights are on. I step out of the car, the rain soaking through my jacket as I rush to the door. My hand hovers over the handle, the thought of her surprised face pushing me forward. I open the door quietly, slipping inside, ready to embrace her. But what I see stops me cold. The living room is dimly lit, soft music playing in the background, but that's not what catches my attention. On the couch, draped over the coffee table, and sprawled across the floor are naked bodies. Emily and her friends, tangled together in a scene that looks ripped from some pornographic nightmare. My mind struggles to make sense of it. This can't be real. This isn't my life. My breath catches in my throat as I take a step back, my heart pounding in my chest. I feel a wave of nausea rise, but it's quickly replaced by a searing rage. "What the fuck is this?" I shout, my voice trembling with shock. Emily looks up, her eyes meeting mine without a hint of shame. "You're not invited, honey," she says, her voice dripping with a strange mix of defiance and apathy. One of the men, someone I've never seen before, laughs. "Look, the cuckold's home early." The world around me tilts as I struggle to breathe, my hands shaking uncontrollably. My gaze shifts to the corner of the room, where the CCTV camera blinks, recording everything. I point at it, my voice cold and steady despite the storm brewing inside me. "This is going straight to the fucking internet." Their laughter stops, and the tension in the room thickens. Everything I thought I knew about my life, my marriage, shatters in that moment. The life I've built, the woman I've loved, it's all a lie, and now there's no going back. The room falls into a tense silence. Emily's eyes widen, and I see fear flicker across her face for the first time. She pulls herself up from the pile of bodies, hastily grabbing a robe. Her friends exchange nervous glances, their earlier bravado crumbling. I keep my finger pointed at the camera, letting them all know I have the upper hand. My heart is still pounding, but now it's not just from anger. It's the power I feel, the control. After everything they've done, they're finally at my mercy. Emily takes a step toward me, her voice soft, almost pleading. "Michael, let's talk about this." "You don't want to do something you'll regret." "Regret?" I spit the word out, my voice trembling with barely controlled rage. "You have no idea what I regret right now." Her lover, the man who mocked me, rises from the couch, a smirk on his face. "You're just bluffing, man. You wouldn't dare ruin your life like that." I turn my gaze to him, cold and unyielding. "Try me." He opens his mouth to say something, but Emily cuts him off, panic in her voice. "Stop! Just stop it, Paul." She turns back to me, her eyes searching mine for any sign of the man she used to know. "Michael, please, we can figure this out. Just don't do anything rash." I take a deep breath, steadying myself. I never imagined I'd be in this situation, standing in my own living room, threatening to expose my wife and her friends in such a vile way. But they've left me no choice. "I'm not the one who did something rash, Emily. You did this. You and your friends. And now you're going to pay for it." One of her friends, a woman I vaguely recognized from previous gatherings, steps forward, her voice shaking. "Michael, please. We didn't mean for you to find out like this." We'll do anything, just don't make this public. Anything? I echo, my mind racing. This is the moment where I could exact my revenge. Make them all suffer like they've made me suffer. But what do I want? What will truly satisfy this burning need for justice? Or is it just vengeance? I look at Emily, searching for any trace of the woman I fell in love with. But all I see now is betrayal. Emily's hands tremble as she clutches the robe tighter around her body. "We can pay you," she says, desperation lacing her voice. "We'll give you whatever you want. Money. Anything. Just please don't destroy our lives." The irony isn't lost on me. They destroyed my life the moment I walked through that door, and now they're begging me not to do the same to them. I could end it all here, with one upload, one click. But then what? What would that make me? The thought gnaws at me, but so does the pain of betrayal. Paul steps forward, his tone darker now. "Listen, man, you don't want to mess with us. We have connections, powerful connections. If you do this, it won't end well for you." His words are a threat, but they only fuel my resolve. "Is that a threat? You think I'm scared of you? You're in my house, in my life, fucking my wife, and you think you can intimidate me?" My voice rises, the fury bubbling up again. Emily steps between us, her voice a mixture of fear and pleading. "Michael, please don't. Paul, shut up." This isn't helping. She turns back to me, tears now streaming down her face. "We can fix this. We'll find a way. But if you release that footage, it'll ruin everything. We'll all be ruined." I lower my hand, the reality of the situation settling in. I have the power to ruin them, to expose them for the filthy liars they are. But at what cost? I turn and walk toward the kitchen, needing a moment to think. The room behind me is silent, waiting. The camera's little red light blinks at me, a constant reminder of the leverage I hold. I grab a glass and pour myself some water, trying to calm the storm inside me. My hands are still shaking, and I can barely hold the glass. Everything I thought I knew is crumbling around me. Emily's betrayal cuts deep, but now, facing this choice, I feel the weight of what I'm about to do. Is revenge really what I want? Or am I just trying to regain some semblance of control in a situation where I've been utterly powerless? Emily follows me into the kitchen, her voice barely above a whisper. "Michael, I'm sorry. I never wanted to hurt you. It was just supposed to be fun. A distraction. It didn't mean anything." I spin around, anger flaring again. "Didn't mean anything? You destroyed our marriage for a fucking distraction?" My voice echoes in the small kitchen, the words tasting bitter in my mouth. She flinches, but doesn't back down. "I know I fucked up. I know I did. But we can fix this. We can go to counseling. We can figure something out. Just please don't do this." Her words hit me hard. Counseling, as if that could ever fix this. I look at her, really look at her, and all I see is a stranger. A stranger who wore my wife's face, who lived in my house, who pretended to love me. I'm not sure there's anything left to fix. Paul appears in the doorway, leaning casually against the frame, as if this is just another night. "You've got a choice to make, man. Either we sort this out, or things get ugly. Real ugly." My stomach tightens, and I feel the weight of the situation pressing down on me. This isn't just about revenge anymore. It's about survival. If I push too hard, if I expose them, they'll come after me. I know that now. They're connected, they have resources, and I'm just a guy with a camera and a broken heart. Emily senses my hesitation and steps closer. "Michael, let's talk this through. We can find a way out of this. Together." "Together?" I scoff, the word foreign on my tongue. "There's no together anymore, Emily. You killed that the moment you let them into our home." She flinches, but she doesn't give up. "We can still fix this. We just need to be smart about it. Please, Michael, just put the camera down. Let's talk." I look into her eyes, searching for any sign of the woman I married, but all I see is desperation and fear. She's scared, and that gives me a small, bitter sense of satisfaction. but it also makes me realize something else. They're more afraid of what I might do than I am of them. I still have the upper hand, at least for now. I take a deep breath and lower my voice, trying to regain some control. Here's what's going to happen. You're all going to leave. Now. I'll decide what to do with the footage later, but for tonight, get out of my sight. Paul opens his mouth to argue, but Emily silences him with a look. She turns back to me, her eyes pleading. Michael, don't make any rash decisions. We can fix this, I promise. I nod, more to myself than to her. We'll see. She hesitates for a moment, then nods, turning to herd her friends out of the house. I watch them go, feeling a strange mix of satisfaction and emptiness. When the door finally closes behind them, I'm left alone in the silence of my shattered life. I walk back into the living room and sit down, staring at the blinking red light on the camera. My mind is a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions, but one thing is clear. I'm not the same man who walked through that door a few hours ago. Something inside me has broken, and I'm not sure it can ever be fixed. But as I sit there alone in the dark, I realize I have a choice. I can let this destroy me, or I can use it to take back control of my life. The question is, what will I do? And how far am I willing to go to make sure they pay for what they've done? The next morning, I wake up to an empty house. Emily is gone. I'm not surprised. I expected her to leave after what happened. But the silence is deafening. I drag myself out of bed, the events of the night before playing on a loop in my head. My life has become a nightmare, and there's no waking up from it. I head to the kitchen, needing coffee, something to clear my mind. As I stand there waiting for the pot to brew, I think about my options. The footage is still there, stored on the cloud, safe from any tampering. I have the power to ruin their lives, to expose everything, but I need to be smart about this. Going public too soon could backfire. They might retaliate, and from what Paul said, I can't afford to underestimate them. I grab my phone and dial the number of a lawyer I know, someone who specializes in this kind of thing. I don't give him details over the phone, just ask for an urgent meeting. He agrees to see me later that afternoon. I hang up, my stomach in knots. This isn't just about revenge anymore. I need to protect myself. The day drags on. I try to keep busy, but my mind keeps returning to the images from last night. The way Emily looked at me, the contempt in her eyes. How did we get here? I always thought we had a solid marriage. Sure, we had our ups and downs, but nothing like this. I keep replaying every interaction we've had over the past few months, searching for clues I missed. The way she pulled away from me, the late nights with her friends, the sudden disinterest in our sex life. It all adds up now, but I was too blind to see it. When it's finally time for my meeting, I drive to the lawyer's office, my mind racing. I sit in the waiting room feeling like I'm about to jump out of my skin. The receptionist calls my name, and I follow her down the hallway to his office. Michael, good to see you, he says, standing up to shake my hand. He's a middle-aged man, sharp suit, sharp mind, exactly who I need right now. Thanks for seeing me on such short notice, I say, taking a seat across from him. Of course. So what's going on? You sounded urgent. I take a deep breath and lay it out for him as much as I can without giving away too many details. He listens carefully, his expression unreadable. When I'm finished, he leans back in his chair, steepling his fingers. This is a delicate situation, Michael. You have the evidence, but going public with it could have serious repercussions. What do you suggest, I ask, trying to keep my voice steady. There are a few options. We could file for divorce on grounds of adultery, use the footage as leverage to get a favorable settlement, or we could pursue a more private resolution. Private resolution? He nods. We approach them quietly, let them know what you have, and negotiate. They might be willing to pay to keep this out of the public eye. Blackmail. The word hangs in the air, unspoken but clear. It's a dangerous game, but one I might have to play. I nod, considering my options. I need time to think about it, I say finally. Of course, but don't take too long. The longer you wait, the the more time they have to cover their tracks or retaliate. I leave his office with more questions than answers. As I drive home, I realize I'm being followed. A black SUV, 2 cars behind me, has been in my rearview mirror since I left the lawyer's office. My heart rate spikes, but I try to stay calm. I take a few turns, trying to shake them, but they stay on my tail. This is real. Paul wasn't bluffing. They're watching me. I make a quick decision and head to a crowded shopping center. I park the car and blend into the crowd, making my way through the mall, trying to lose them. After a while, I circle back to a different exit, hoping I've thrown them off. My car is still there, but the SUV is gone. For now. When I get home, the house feels more oppressive than ever. I lock all the doors and check the cameras. Everything looks normal, but I can't shake the feeling of being watched. I sit down at my computer and pull up the footage from last night. I watch it again, forcing myself to confront what's happened. But this time, I'm not just looking at the betrayal, I'm analyzing every detail. Who were those men? What kind of connections do they have? And how do I use this to my advantage without getting myself killed? I dig deeper, searching online for anything I can find about Paul and his associates. It's not easy. These guys are careful, but I managed to find a few threads, hints that they're involved in something much bigger than I thought. They're not just rich assholes. They're part of a network, something powerful and dangerous. The more I uncover, the more paranoid I become. Every noise outside, every car that drives by, sets me on edge. I'm in way over my head, but there's no backing out now. I have to see this through, whatever it takes. A few days pass in a blur of anxiety and sleepless nights. I don't hear from Emily, but I'm sure she's plotting her next move. I need to be ready. I keep checking the footage, making sure it's still secure. I start carrying a flash drive with me everywhere I go, a backup in case something happens. One night, I'm sitting in the dark, staring at my phone, wondering if I should call the lawyer back. When the doorbell rings, my heart leaps into my throat. I grab the gun I keep in the drawer by the bed, a precaution I never thought I'd actually need, and creep toward the door. "Who is it?" I call out, my voice shaking. "It's me, Michael. Open the door." Emily. I hesitate, every instinct telling me to keep the door locked, but I can't. I need answers, and this might be my only chance to get them. I open the door, keeping the chain on, and peer out at her. She looks terrible. Dark circles under her eyes, hair a mess. She's not the polished, confident woman I married. She's scared, and that scares me. "Let me in," she says, her voice barely above a whisper. I hesitate, then unlock the door and step aside. She walks in, and I close the door behind her, keeping the gun hidden but close. "What do you want, Emily?" I ask, trying to keep my voice steady. "We need to talk," she says, her eyes darting around the room as if she expects someone to jump out at her. "Talk." I can't keep the bitterness out of my voice. "Now you want to talk." "Michael, please," she says, her voice breaking. "I didn't want this. I didn't want any of this." "Then why?" I demand, my anger flaring. "Why the hell did you do it?" She takes a deep breath, and for a moment, I see the woman I used to know, the woman I loved. It got out of control. I was bored, okay? I was bored, and they made me feel alive. But I never meant for it to go this far. Bored. The word is like a punch to the gut. "So you decided to destroy our marriage because you were bored?" "I know I fucked up, okay? I know that. But now things are spiraling, and I can't stop it. They won't let me stop it." "What are you talking about?" I ask, suspicion creeping into my voice. "They're not who you think they are," she says, her voice dropping to a whisper. "They're dangerous, Michael. And now, because of that footage, you're in danger too." I take a step back, the weight of her words sinking in. "What do you mean?" "They're part of a network, something bigger than you or me. If you release that footage, they'll come after you. And they won't stop until you're dead." Fear clenches in my chest, but I push it down. "So what do you expect me to do? Just roll over and let them get away with it?" "No," she says quickly. "I'm not saying that. We need to be smart about this." We need to figure out a way to protect ourselves. Protect ourselves? I laugh, but there's no humor in it. You dragged me into this mess, and now you want me to help you clean it up? Please, Michael, she says, reaching out to touch my arm. I pull back, and the hurt in her eyes almost makes me soften. Almost. I know I don't deserve your help, but we're in this together now, whether we like it or not. I stare at her, trying to decide if I can trust anything she says. But what choice do I have? If she's telling the truth, then I'm already in deep, and I need all the help I can get, even if it's from the woman who betrayed me. Fine, I say, my voice cold, but you're going to tell me everything. No more lies, no more half-truths. I want to know exactly what we're dealing with. She nods, relief flooding her face. I will, I promise. We sit down at the kitchen table, and she starts to talk. She tells me about the group, how it started as a thrill, something to break up the monotony of her life. But it quickly became more than that. The men she got involved with were powerful, connected, and they had no qualms about using those connections to get what they wanted. They're involved in everything, she says, her voice trembling. Drugs, trafficking, money laundering, you name it, they're in it. And now that you have that footage, you're a threat to them. I listen, my anger turning to something darker. This isn't just about revenge anymore. This is about survival. What do we do? I ask, my mind racing. We need to disappear, she says. Get out of here before they come after you. And go where? I ask, skepticism lacing my voice. They'll find us. Not if we're smart about it, she insists. We need to make it look like you're going to release the footage, distract them, and then disappear. I know people who can help, but we need to act fast. The idea of running doesn't sit well with me. I've never been one to back down from a fight, but this is different. These people aren't just bullies. They're dangerous, and I can't take them on alone. Okay, I say finally. But we do this on my terms. No more secrets, no more lies. We stick together until this is over. Agreed, she says, and for the first time in days, I see a glimmer of hope in her eyes. We spend the rest of the night planning. It's risky, and there's no guarantee it'll work, but it's all we have. As the hours tick by, the tension between us eases slightly, replaced by a shared determination to survive. It's ironic. After everything that's happened, we're back to where we started. A team, fighting together. But the trust that was once the foundation of our marriage is gone, replaced by necessity and desperation. As dawn breaks, we're exhausted, but ready. Emily makes a few calls, setting things in motion. We pack our bags, taking only what we need, and prepare to leave everything behind. Before we go, I take one last look around the house, memories flooding back. This was supposed to be our home, our future, but that future is gone, destroyed by betrayal and lies. As we walk out the door, I know there's no turning back. We're stepping into the unknown, with nothing but each other and a desperate hope that we can outsmart the people hunting us. As we drive away, the city fading into the distance, I feel a strange sense of calm. The fear is still there, lurking beneath the surface, but so is a new resolve. I'm not going down without a fight. They may have power, connections, and money, but I have something they don't, the truth, and I'm going to use it to bring them down, no matter what it takes. The wind rushes past as we drive through the darkened streets, the city's lights fading behind us. Emily sits beside me, silent, her hands clenched in her lap. Every few minutes I glance in the rearview mirror, half expecting to see headlights tailing us, but the road remains empty. We're running, but I don't know where we're running to. All I know is that we can't stop. Not yet. My thoughts race as I navigate the empty highways. I'm trying to piece together a plan, something that will keep us alive long enough to figure out our next move. Emily's words echo in my head. They're dangerous, Michael. And now because of that footage, you're in danger too. It's not just about revenge anymore. It's about survival. We drive for hours, the silence between us thick with tension. Every now and then, I catch Emily looking at me, her expression unreadable. I wonder what she's thinking. if she regrets what she's done, if she's planning to betray me again. I can't trust her, not completely, but I need her, at least for now. Finally, I pull into a rest stop, the sky starting to lighten with the first hints of dawn. My hands ache from gripping the steering wheel, my mind exhausted from running through every possible scenario. I park the car and turn to Emily, my voice rough with fatigue. We need to talk. She nods, her eyes tired and red-rimmed. I know. We sit there for a moment, neither of us knowing where to start. Finally, I break the silence. Tell me everything. I need to know who we're dealing with, how dangerous they really are. She hesitates, then begins to speak, her voice barely above a whisper. It started out small, just a few parties, a way to break up the monotony. But then I met Paul, and he introduced me to his world. The parties got bigger, more exclusive. It wasn't just about sex anymore. It was about power. I listened, my anger simmering just below the surface. What kind of power? Connections, influence. These people aren't just rich. They're connected. Politicians, businessmen, criminals. They have their hands in everything, and they use those connections to control people, to get what they want. And what did you get out of it? I ask, my voice hard. She looks away, shame coloring her cheeks. I was bored, Michael. I was lonely. You were always working, always distracted. And they made me feel alive, like I was part of something bigger. Her words cut deep, but I push the pain aside. I can't afford to get emotional now. So what's the plan? You said we need to disappear. But how? They'll find us. There's a way, she says, her voice shaking. Paul told me about it once as a joke. He said if anyone ever crossed the wrong people, there were places you could go, ways to disappear. But it's risky. What do you mean, risky? It's not just about running. You have to make them believe you're dead, that you're not a threat anymore. It's a permanent solution. I stare at her, the weight of what she's suggesting sinking in. Faking our deaths, disappearing forever. It's drastic, but it might be our only chance. And you think we can pull it off? She hesitates, then nods. If we're careful, but we need help. Someone who knows how to do this. Who? I demand, my mind racing. Paul has a guy, someone who handles things like this. But we'll need to convince him to help us. And how do we do that? She looks at me, her eyes hard. We use the footage. We make it clear that if anything happens to us, it goes public. We make them think we're more valuable alive than dead. It's a dangerous game, but it might be our only option. I nod, the decision made. Okay. But first we need to find a place to lie low, somewhere safe where we can plan our next move. I know a place, she says, her voice steady, but it's not close. We'll need to keep moving until we get there. I start the car again, the engine rumbling to life. As we pull out of the rest stop, I can't shake the feeling that we're driving straight into a trap. But there's no turning back now. We're in too deep. The hours blur together as we drive through the countryside, the sun rising higher in the sky. I keep my eyes on the road, but my mind is elsewhere, turning over the plan, searching for flaws. It's risky, too risky. But what choice do we have? I glance at Emily, wondering if I can trust her to see this through. She's the one who got us into this mess, but she might be the only one who can get us out. By the time we reach the small town she mentioned, night has fallen again. It's a quiet place, the kind of town where everyone knows everyone else's business, the perfect place to hide in plain sight. We find a motel on the outskirts, far enough from prying eyes, but close enough to town that we can blend in. As we settle into the room, I feel the tension in my shoulders ease slightly. We're not safe, not by a long shot, but at least we have a roof over our heads and a plan, such as it is. Emily paces the room, restless, while I sit on the bed running through everything we need to do. We'll need new identities, she says, more to herself than to me. Cash, burner phones, a way to communicate with Paul's guy without leaving a trail. We'll figure it out, I say, though I'm not sure I believe it. This whole thing feels like it could fall apart at any moment, but I don't see any other options. She stops pacing and looks at me, her eyes pleading. Michael, I know I've made mistakes, huge mistakes, but I'm trying to fix this. I'm trying to protect us. Protect us? I snap, my anger finally breaking through. You're the reason we're in this mess in the first place. You betrayed me, destroyed our marriage, and now you're dragging me into some nightmare I never asked for. She flinches, tears welling up in her eyes. I know, and I'm sorry, but we don't have time for this right now. We need to focus on surviving. Her words hit home, and I take a deep breath, forcing myself to calm down. She's right. There's no time for blame or anger. Not if we want to make it out of this alive. Fine, I say, my voice cold. But once this is over, we're done. I don't care what happens to you after that. She nods, a single tear slipping down her cheek. I understand. We spend the next few days lying low, only venturing out when absolutely necessary. I keep an eye on the news, waiting for any sign that they found us, but so far there's nothing. It's like we vanished from the world, and for now, that's exactly what we need. Emily contacts Paul's guy, setting up a meeting in a nearby city. It's risky. He could be setting us up, leading us into a trap, but we don't have much choice. If we're going to disappear, we need his help. The night before the meeting, I can't sleep. My mind won't stop racing, every possible outcome playing out in my head. I lie there staring at the ceiling, listening to Emily's soft breathing beside me. It's strange. After everything that's happened, after all the lies and betrayal, there's still a part of me that cares about her. That wants to protect her, even if she doesn't deserve it. But I push those thoughts aside. I can't afford to be sentimental. Not now, not when everything is on the line. When dawn finally breaks, we pack up our things and leave the motel, heading for the city. The drive is tense, both of us on edge, but we don't talk. There's nothing left to say. The city is bustling, people going about their lives, oblivious to the danger lurking just beneath the surface. We park a few blocks away from the meeting spot, a seedy bar on the outskirts of town, and make our way there on foot. Inside, the air is thick with smoke and the smell of stale beer. A few regulars are hunched over the bar, nursing their drinks, but otherwise the place is empty. We take a seat at a booth in the back, waiting. Minutes tick by, each one stretching into an eternity. My nerves are frayed, every sound making me jump. But then, the door swings open and a man walks in. He's tall, muscular, with a face that looks like it's seen its share of fights. He spots us immediately and heads our way. You Paul's guy? I ask as he slides into the booth across from us. He nods, his eyes cold and calculating. Name's Jack. Paul said you need help. That's right, Emily says, her voice steady. We need to disappear, completely. Jack leans back, studying us. That's a tall order. Expensive, too. We can pay, I say quickly, but we need to know if you can do it. He smirks, a dangerous glint in his eyes. I can do it. Question is, can you handle what it'll take? What do you mean? Emily asks, her voice tight with fear. Disappearing isn't just about new IDs and a fresh start. It's about erasing your old life completely. No going back, no second chances. You're ghost from here on out. Can you handle that? I exchange a glance with Emily, then nod. We don't have a choice. Good, Jack says, leaning forward. Because once we start this, there's no backing out. You understand? We understand, I say, my voice firm. All right, he says, pulling out a small, unmarked phone and sliding it across the table. This is how you'll contact me from now on. No calls, no texts. Just follow the instructions I send, and we'll get you out clean. But remember, if you fuck this up, you're on your own. He stands, tossing a few bills on the table for his drink. I'll be in touch. We watch him leave, the weight of what we've just committed to sinking in. There's no turning back now. We're going to disappear, erase ourselves from existence. But deep down, I know that no matter how far we run, the past will always be with us. The truth is, we're already ghosts, shadows of the people we used to be. As we leave the bar and step back into the bustling city, I can't shake the feeling that we're walking straight into a trap. But what choice do we have? It's either this or face the people hunting us, and I'm not ready to die. Not yet. The days blur together as we follow Jack's instructions, each step taking us further from the lives we once knew. New identities, new backgrounds, new everything. It's like shedding our old skins, but the process is excruciating. I feel like I'm losing myself piece by piece, becoming someone else entirely. Emily and I move from place to place, never staying anywhere too long. Every time I start to feel a sense of security, it's time to leave again. The tension between us grows, the stress of our situation pushing us to the edge. We barely speak anymore, just go through the motions, both of us lost in our own thoughts. One night, after another long day of following Jack's orders, we end up in a cheap motel on the outskirts of a forgotten town. The room is small, dingy, the kind of place where no one asks questions. I drop our bags on the floor and collapse onto the bed, exhaustion weighing me down. Emily sits at the small table, staring out the window, her face pale in the dim light. I can tell she's struggling, but I don't have the energy to comfort her. We're both barely holding on, and there's no room for anything else. But as I lie there staring at the ceiling, I realize that I can't keep doing this. I can't keep running, living in fear. We need to end this once and for all. And we can't keep going like this, I say, my voice rough. Emily looks at me, her eyes hollow. What choice do we have? We need to take them down, I say, the word surprising even me. We need to expose them, bring everything to light. But how, she asks, desperation in her voice. They'll kill us if we try. They'll kill us if we don't, I counter, my resolve hardening. We can't run forever. We need to fight back. She's silent for a long moment, then she nods, a spark of determination in her eyes. You're right, but we can't do it alone. We need help. Jack won't help us, I say, shaking my head. He's in it for the money, nothing else. Then we find someone who will, she says, her voice stronger now. Someone who has a reason to take them down, just like we do. It's a long shot, but it's all we have. We're not just running anymore. We're fighting back, and we won't stop until we bring them down or die trying. The air in the motel room feels thick, like it's pressing down on us. Emily paces back and forth, her bare feet silent on the worn carpet. I sit at the edge of the bed, staring at the phone in my hand, waiting for the message that will either save us or condemn us. My mind races with everything that could go wrong. I know that Jack is our only shot at pulling this off, but I can't shake the feeling that we're being led into a trap. Emily's voice breaks the silence. Are you sure about this? She's been asking me the same question every hour since we decided to reach out to Jack again. Her doubt gnaws at me, amplifying my own fears. We don't have a choice, I say, keeping my voice low, trying to sound more confident than I feel. We need someone who knows how to hit these people where it hurts. Jack's our best bet. She stops pacing and looks at me, her eyes searching mine for any sign of reassurance. And if he turns on us? I don't have an answer for that. We both know the risks. If Jack betrays us, we're finished. But if we don't act, we'll be hunted down like animals, eventually cornered with no way out. I can't let that happen, not after everything we've been through. The phone buzzes in my hand and I nearly drop it. I glance at the screen. It's Jack. My stomach tightens as I open the message. He's given us an address, an industrial area on the outskirts of the city, and a time, midnight. No details, no reassurances, just a location and a clock ticking down to 0. Midnight, I tell Emily, showing her the message. She takes the phone from me, reading it carefully before handing it back, her face pale. This feels wrong, she whispers, wrapping her arms around herself as if to ward off the chill creeping into the room. We don't have a choice, I repeat, more to myself than to her. We'll meet him, see what he has to offer. If anything feels off, we bail. And go where? She asks, the fear evident in her voice. We're running out of places to hide. We'll figure it out, I say, though I don't believe it. The truth is, we're backed into a corner, and there's no easy way out. As the hours drag by, the tension between us grows. We're both exhausted, nerves frayed from days of running and hiding, but neither of us can sleep. The reality of what we're about to do weighs heavily on us both. I keep replaying every conversation, every look exchanged with Jack, searching for any sign that he might betray us. But I come up empty. He's a professional, cold, calculated, and impossible to read. Finally, the time comes to leave. We pack our few belongings into a small bag, grab our coats, and head out into the night. The motel parking lot is deserted, the air crisp and biting as we make our way to the car. My heart pounds in my chest, every nerve on edge as I scan the shadows for any sign of danger. But the night is still, eerily quiet, as if holding its breath for what's to come. The drive to the industrial area is tense, neither of us speaking. The city lights fade behind us, replaced by the dark silhouettes of warehouses and factories, their hulking shapes looming out of the darkness like forgotten relics. We follow the directions Jack gave us, winding through a maze of empty streets until we reach the address. It's an old warehouse, its windows shattered, the once bright paint peeling from the walls. There's no sign of life, no cars, nothing to indicate that this place has been used for anything in years. I park the car a short distance away, cutting the engine and sitting in the darkness, listening to the ticking of the cooling metal. My fingers tighten around the steering wheel as I try to steady my breathing, but it's no use. Every instinct is screaming at me to turn around, to get the hell out of here before it's too late. "We're here," I say, my voice hoarse. Emily nods, her face pale in the dim light. "What now?" We wait. The minutes stretch into what feels like hours, each one dragging us closer to the unknown. My eyes never leave the warehouse, scanning the shadows for any sign of movement. The tension is unbearable, the silence pressing down on us like a physical weight. Then out of the darkness, a single figure emerges. Jack. He's alone, dressed in black, his face obscured by the shadow of his hood. He approaches the car with the casual confidence of a man who knows he's in control. My grip on the wheel tightens as he draws closer, my pulse hammering in my ears. "Stay here," I tell Emily, reaching for the door handle. "If anything happens, drive." "Don't wait for me." She grabs my arm, her nails digging into my skin. "Michael, please." "I'll be fine," I say, forcing a smile that feels more like a grimace. "Just stay in the car." I step out into the cold night air, closing the door softly behind me. Jack stops a few feet away, his posture relaxed but his eyes sharp, assessing. "You came alone," he says, more of a statement than a question. "You told me to," I reply, keeping my voice steady. He nods as if satisfied. "Smart. I like that." He glances toward the warehouse, then back at me. "Let's talk inside. More private." Every instinct screams at me not to follow him, but I force myself to move, to put one foot in front of the other as I follow him into the darkened building. The air inside is musty, thick with the scent of rust and decay. The only light comes from a few scattered windows, the moonlight filtering in through the broken glass. Jack leads me to a small office at the back of the warehouse, the door hanging off its hinges. Inside, there's a single chair and a battered desk, papers scattered across the floor like the remnants of a life long abandoned. He sits on the edge of the desk, his eyes never leaving mine as I take the chair. "So, you're ready to take these guys down," he says, his voice low and even. I nod, my throat dry. "They need to pay for what they've done." "And you think you can do that?" He tilts his head, his eyes narrowing slightly. "You think you can beat them?" "I have the footage," I say, trying to project confidence. "And I'm not afraid to use it." He smirks, a cold, calculating smile. "That's what I like to hear. But it's going to take more than just a few videos to bring these guys down. They're powerful, connected. You'll need more than just leverage. You'll need a plan." "A good one. That's why I came to you," I say, trying to keep the desperation out of my voice. "You said you could help." He nods, as if considering. "I can, but it's going to cost you." "Money isn't a problem," I say quickly, though I'm not sure how much we actually have left. He shakes his head. "I'm not talking about money. This is going to cost you in other ways. Ways you might not be ready for." "What do you mean?" He leans forward, his eyes locking onto mine. This isn't just about taking them down. It's about survival. Once you start this, there's no going back. They'll come after you with everything they have, and you'll have to be ready to fight back. Are you prepared for that? The weight of his words sinks in, but I force myself to nod. I'm prepared. He studies me for a long moment, then nods. All right. Here's what we're going to do. He lays out the plan, his voice calm and methodical as he details every step. It's risky, but it's the only shot we have. We'll use the footage to draw them out, to expose their network piece by piece, but we can't do it alone. We'll need allies, people who have a stake in bringing these bastards down, and we'll need to be ready to disappear at a moment's notice, to vanish before they can strike back. As he talks, I feel a strange sense of clarity, a cold resolve settling over me. This is it, the point of no return. We're going to take them down, no matter the cost. When he's finished, he stands and extends a hand. You in? I take his hand, gripping it firmly. I'm in. He nods, satisfied. Good, then let's get to work. We spend the next few days putting the plan into motion. Jack brings in a few trusted associates, people who know how to handle themselves in a fight. They're rough, dangerous, the kind of men you don't want to cross, but they're exactly what we need. Emily and I move from place to place, staying under the radar while we gather everything we need. It's a delicate balance, staying hidden while making enough noise to draw our enemies out. But slowly we start to see results. The first to fall is one of Paul's associates, a low-level player in their network. We leak just enough information to make him panic, to force him into the open. Jack's men are waiting when he tries to run, and they bring him in quietly. No fuss, no mess. The information he gives us is invaluable. Names, locations, a glimpse into the shadowy world they operate in. But it's not enough. We need more, and time is running out. Every day we stay in one place is another day they could find us, another chance for them to strike first. The tension between Emily and me grows with each passing day. We're both on edge, the stress of the situation pushing us to our limits. We barely speak, communicating only when necessary. The distance between us is palpable, but I can't afford to focus on that now. We have a mission, and nothing else matters. As we close in on the key players, the danger escalates. We're playing a high-stakes game, and the slightest misstep could be fatal. But there's no turning back now. We're too deep in. Finally, we get the break we need. One of our sources tips us off to a meeting, a gathering of the network's top players. It's our chance to strike, to expose them all in one fell swoop. But it's also a trap. We know that going in, but we don't have a choice. It's now or never. We set up surveillance, positioning ourselves to capture everything on camera. Jack's men are ready, armed to the teeth, waiting for the signal. Emily and I are hidden in a nearby building, watching the scene unfold through binoculars. My heart races as I see them start to arrive, one by one, slipping into the warehouse like shadows. This is it, I whisper, more to myself than to Emily. We're going to bring them down. But as the meeting progresses, something feels off. The men inside are too calm, too confident. It's as if they know we're watching, waiting for us to make our move. My stomach tightens as I realize we've been outplayed. We need to get out of here, I say, turning to Emily. But before I can move, the door behind us crashes open and men pour in, guns drawn. It's an ambush. I reach for my gun, but it's too late. A sharp pain explodes in my side and I stagger, falling to the floor. The room spins as I struggle to stay conscious, my vision fading to black. The last thing I see is Emily's face, her eyes wide with terror as she's dragged away. I'm left alone in the dark, the sound of footsteps fading as they take her. I'm beaten, broken, but not dead. And as the pain drags me down into unconsciousness, I make a silent vow. I will survive. I will find her. And I will make them pay. When I come to, the world is a blur of pain and darkness. My head throbs, a relentless pounding that drowns out everything else. It takes a few moments before I realize where I am. The cold concrete beneath me, the damp, musty smell, some kind of basement or storage room. My side aches where they hit me, a sharp, deep pain that tells me they didn't hold back. I groan as I try to move, every muscle screaming in protest. They took Emily. The memory crashes back, as vivid as the pain. They dragged her away while I lay there, helpless. I can still see the terror in her eyes, the way she struggled against them. I failed her. Again. But I'm not done yet. I won't let this be the end. I push myself up, biting back the pain. My vision swims, but I force myself to focus. The room is dimly lit by a single bare bulb hanging from the ceiling. There's a door, heavy and metal, the kind that doesn't open from the inside. I stumble to my feet, using the wall for support, and limp over to it, testing the handle. It's locked, of course. They're not stupid. My mind races, trying to piece together a plan. I don't have much time. They'll be back soon, and when they do, they'll finish the job. I need to get out of here, find Emily, and end this. No more running. No more hiding. It's time to make them pay. I scan the room, looking for anything I can use. There's not much. A few old boxes, some rusted tools. But in the corner, half buried under a pile of rags, I spot a crowbar. It's heavy, the metal cold and solid in my hand. It's not much, but it's better than nothing. I turn back to the door, adrenaline pushing me past the pain. I wedge the crowbar into the gap between the door and the frame, gritting my teeth as I lever it with all the strength I have left. The metal groans, but doesn't budge. I try again, sweat pouring down my face, my muscles trembling with the effort. Finally, with a sharp crack, the door gives, the lock snapping open. I don't waste any time. I pull the door open and step into the hallway beyond. It's narrow, lit by flickering fluorescent lights. I listen, straining to hear any sign of movement, but the place is silent. Too silent. I tighten my grip on the crowbar and move forward one step at a time, keeping close to the wall. My thoughts are a mess, a chaotic tangle of fear, anger, and desperation. They have Emily, and I have no idea where they've taken her. But I know one thing. I'm going to find her, and when I do, I'll make them pay for every second of this nightmare. The hallway twists and turns, leading me deeper into the building. I pass a few doors, but they're locked. The windows covered with grime so thick I can't see through them. I keep moving, trying to stay focused. My side aches with every step, but I push the pain aside. I can't afford to slow down. Finally, I reach a set of stairs leading up. I take them two at a time, each step sending a jolt of pain through my body. At the top, there's another door. This one's slightly ajar. I pause, listening again, but still there's nothing. I push the door open and step through. I find myself in a large open room, some kind of abandoned factory or warehouse. The walls are lined with broken machinery, the windows high above letting in just enough light to see by. In the center of the room, there's a group of men. They're big, mean-looking, the kind of guys who get paid to hurt people. And in front of them, bound to a chair, is Emily. My heart lurches at the sight of her. She's alive, but barely. Her face is bruised, her clothes torn. But even now, she's still fighting, struggling against the ropes that hold her. My anger flares, hot and blinding. They did this to her. They're going to pay. One of the men notices me, his eyes widening in surprise. "Hey, he's here!" They all turn, and for a moment, there's a standoff. Then, without thinking, I charge at them, the crowbar raised. The first guy doesn't even see it coming. I swing hard, the metal connecting with his head with a sickening thud. He goes down, blood spraying from the wound. The others react quickly, drawing their guns. I don't stop. I can't stop. I take out the next one with a wild swing, the crowbar smashing into his ribs. He collapses, gasping for breath. But there are too many of them. The third guy gets a shot off, the bullet grazing my arm. The pain barely registers as I tackle him, driving the crowbar into his chest. The last guy grabs me from behind, his arm locking around my throat, cutting off my air. I struggle, but he's strong, too strong. My vision starts to fade, black spots dancing before my eyes. But I can't give up. Not now. I reach back, blindly swinging the crowbar. It connects with something, and the pressure on my throat eases. I twist free, gasping for air, and spin around, bringing the crowbar down with all my strength. The man crumples, his head caved in. I stand over him, panting, blood dripping from the crowbar onto the floor. It's over. I've won. But there's no time to celebrate. I drop the crowbar and rush to Emily's side, pulling out a knife to cut the ropes. "Emily," I whisper, my voice thick with emotion. "It's okay. I'm here." She looks up at me, her eyes filled with pain and relief. "Michael." I thought, "Shh," I say, cutting the last of the ropes and pulling her into my arms. "It's okay. We're going to get out of here." She nods, too exhausted to speak. I help her to her feet, supporting her as we make our way to the exit. My body screams in protest, but I ignore it. All that matters is getting her out of here, getting us both to safety. We stumble out into the night, the cool air a welcome relief after the stifling heat of the warehouse. I scan the area, but there's no sign of anyone else. It's just us, alone in the darkness. But we're not safe yet. I know they'll come after us, and when they do, we'll need to be ready. I help Emily into the car, then slide into the driver's seat, my hands trembling as I start the engine. The tires squeal as I pull away, leaving the warehouse and the bodies behind. I drive aimlessly for a while, my mind too foggy to think clearly. We need to find somewhere to hide, somewhere they won't find us. But I don't know where to go. I've burned every bridge, cut every tie. There's nowhere left to run. Finally, I pull into a gas station, the neon sign flickering in the darkness. I park the car and turn to Emily, her head resting against the window. She's passed out, too weak to stay awake. I reach over and brush a strand of hair from her face, my heart aching at the sight of her bruises. "I'm sorry," I whisper, though I know she can't hear me. "I'm so sorry." I sit there for a long time, staring out at the empty road, trying to figure out what to do next. The events of the past few days play on a loop in my head, a relentless barrage of images and sounds. The fight, the blood, the screams. I can't shake the feeling that I've lost something important, something I'll never get back. But I can't dwell on that now. I have to keep moving, keep fighting, for Emily, for myself, for the chance to start over. I take a deep breath and reach for the phone, the one Jack gave me. There's only one person left who can help us now, someone who owes me a favor. It's a long shot, but it's all I have left. I dial the number, my heart pounding in my chest as I wait for them to pick up. The phone rings once, twice, then a click as the line connects. "Hello?" "It's Michael," I say, my voice steady despite the fear clawing at my insides. "I need your help." There's a pause on the other end, a moment of silence that stretches on forever. Then finally they speak. "Where are you?" I give them the location, my hands shaking as I hang up. It's done. Now all I can do is wait, hope that they'll come through for us, hope that we'll make it out of this alive. I lean back in the seat, closing my eyes, exhaustion washing over me. But I can't sleep. Not yet. I have to stay alert, stay ready for whatever comes next. I look over at Emily, her chest rising and falling with each breath, and I make a silent vow. This isn't over, not by a long shot. But whatever happens next, we'll face it together, and we'll survive. We have to. It's over. I stand in the wreckage of my life, the ashes of everything I once knew. The room is quiet now, just the soft hum of the city outside, a distant echo of the chaos that brought me here. Emily is gone. The network that pulled her into its web is dismantled, its members either dead or scattered, running from the law or from each other. And me? I'm still standing. Barely. The final confrontation was brutal. Emily and I faced each other for the last time, the truth laid bare between us like a wound that would never heal. She was a broken woman, her power stripped away, her life in ruins. But even then, she tried to hold on to something, some last shred of control. She begged me to let her go, to walk away and leave her with whatever was left. But I couldn't. Not after everything she'd done. "I'm sorry, Michael," she'd said, her voice trembling. "I never wanted this. I never wanted to hurt you." "But you did," I'd replied, my voice cold, detached. "You destroyed everything. And for what? For some thrill? Some escape from your boredom?" She had no answer, just tears. But they weren't enough to sway me. I had come too far, lost too much. So I did what I had to do. I exposed her, along with everyone else. The footage, the evidence, it all went public. The trial was swift, and the fallout was catastrophic. Lives were ruined, reputations shattered. The network was torn apart, piece by piece, until there was nothing left. But it didn't bring me any satisfaction. No sense of victory, no relief. Just a deep, hollow emptiness where my life used to be. Emily was taken away, sentenced to a life behind bars, and I was left alone to pick up the pieces. I thought exposing the truth would set me free, but now I see it for what it really is. An end, not a beginning. There's no going back to the man I was before, the life I had. That person is gone, buried under the weight of everything that's happened. All that's left is this, a new life, a new path, and the scars that will never fade. I look out the window, watching the world go by. It's strange seeing people go about their lives as if nothing's changed, while mine has been turned upside down. But I know I can't stay here. Can't stay in this place where every corner holds a memory I'd rather forget. So I pack a bag, just the essentials. There's nothing left here for me. No one to say goodbye to. I walk out the door, not looking back. The city lights fading as I step into the night. The future is uncertain, a vast, dark unknown. But for the first time in a long time, I feel something close to hope. I don't know where I'm going, and that's okay. The road stretches out before me, endless, full of possibilities. I've paid the price for my revenge, and now it's time to start over, to build something new from the ruins. I'm not the same man who walked into that house all those weeks ago. I'm harder now, colder, but also wiser. I know what it means to lose everything, and I know what it takes to survive. As I walk, I think about what comes next. A new city, a new identity, maybe even a new purpose. I don't have all the answers, but I don't need them. All I need is the strength to keep moving forward, to keep pushing through the darkness until I find the light again. I pause at the edge of the city, looking back one last time. The skyline is a jagged silhouette against the night sky, a reminder of everything I'm leaving behind. But I don't feel any regret, just a quiet determination to keep going, to see where this road leads. I turn away and start walking, the night closing in around me. It's going to be a long journey, but I'm ready for it. I have to be, because there's no turning back now. The battle is over, but the journey is just beginning. And whatever comes next, I'll face it head on, alone but stronger, ready to start again.